Alberta has the highest GDP per capita in Canada. At $73,000, it's even one of the highest if you consider the whole of North America. Being Canada's main oil producer, it's not surprising to know that Alberta's economy, while full of money, has experienced multiple boom and bust cycles. What's more interesting though is that we can see these boom and bust cycles replicated within the province's urban regional planning. Not sure you understand? Make sure you watch till the end of the video. And if you enjoy, subscribe and like, and let's get into Alberta's boom and bust urban planning. Regional planning is like a roadmap for the future, a vision born from optimism and shaped by the changing tides of economic prosperity. In times of optimism, regional planners dream big, envisioning what can be achieved in the years to come. They set out the steps to turn these dreams into reality, creating a roadmap for progress and development.
For 3 decades, oil companies had been drilling with only limited success. Searching. Then in February 1947, 20 miles south of Edmonton, near the little town of Leduc, Alberta, Imperial Leduc No. 1 struck oil.
Alberta's early days were centered around wheat and butter, but as the population grew and the economy expanded, so did the need for evolved land use planning. Economic swings from periods of prosperity to times of challenge have influenced the emphasis on comprehensive long-term planning. During prosperous times, the focus is on ambitious projects and expansive growth. However, in times of difficulty, priorities shift to meeting immediate needs. Land use planning is deeply rooted in the relationship between humans and the land, a connection that spans thousands of years in Alberta's rich history. Indigenous peoples have inhabited the western regions of Alberta near the Rocky Mountains for millennia. In fact, it's estimated the first people of Canada have inhabited Alberta for 10,000 years. In the 1700s, though, European exploration and the fur trade expanded into the Alberta area, marking a pivotal point in the region's history. The first settlements like Fort Vermilion were established in 1788, laying the groundwork for future development and land use. Formal land use planning in Alberta traces back to city bylaws established around the time of the province's inception. Calgary, which was founded in 1875 and officially incorporated as a city in 1894, initiated development restrictions as early as 1904. Following suit, Edmonton, founded in 1795 and incorporated as a city in 1904, implemented similar measures in 1906. You see, on September 1st, 1904, Alberta achieved provincial status alongside Saskatchewan. This milestone came a decade after the completion of the Canadian Pacific Railway, with a population estimated between 160,000 to 200,000. Noted political historian Ernest Watkins estimated that Alberta began its existence with some 184,000 inhabitants. Financially, the province garnered just over $2 million in revenues during its inaugural year, with a significant portion stemming from federal subsidies. Key revenue sources within the provinces include fees on land transfers, which total $175,000, and proceeds from the sale of butter, amounting to $131,156. This just shows how Alberta's early European history was tough. Low revenue mainly focused on agriculture and butter. The Canadian Pacific Railway, though, which connected the west to the east, would become much more important in the settlement of the province. You see, in the early 1900s, a surge of settlers from rural areas flooded into urban centers, causing the value of land within cities to skyrocket. Within just 2 decades, urban land values increased nearly 20 times, reflecting the rapid growth and expansion of cities. Subdivisions proliferated within and beyond municipal boundaries, transforming the landscape of Alberta. At the provincial level, the Municipal Affairs Department was established in 1911, and the goal was to oversee the growing urbanization. By that time, Alberta boasted 6 cities and 136 towns and villages, highlighting the rapid urban development occurring across the province. To manage the subdividing of land and ensure efficient use of space, regulations were enacted through the Town Planning Act in 1913. This utilitarian measure empowered municipalities to control subdivisions, allocate space for transportation corridors, utilities, and public spaces, and ultimately managed land in the best interest of the public. The Town Planning Act marked a significant step towards organized urban development and sustainable land use practices in Alberta. The Town Planning and Preservation of Natural Beauty Act came in 1928, and it marked a significant milestone in land use planning, driven by public concerns. And you might be wondering, what were the public concerns about? Well, they were about the impact of billboards on rural landscapes. You see, the United Farmers Women of Alberta voiced their worries, highlighting the need to preserve the natural beauty of the countryside amidst rapid development. This act empowered municipalities to declare how land is used throughout zoning regulations, including specifications on building heights, size, and type. An updated Town Planning Act in 1929 further enhanced municipalities' authority to manage land use, aligning with the common goals and values of Albertans. But by 1929, you probably know what's coming next. Alberta got hit with the Great Depression. And by 1938, Alberta faced significant economic challenges, with thousands of farms abandoned and provincial revenue declining. The Canadian prairies saw 2/3 of the population relying on governmental relief, leading to a migration from rural areas into cities or out of the province entirely. Public concerns shifted away from optimistic visions of a future as regional planning took a backseat in the provincial's policy. Municipalities prioritized preserving existing buildings rather than focus on new and fancy developments. Relief finally arrived though in 1939 with the onset of World War II, bringing growth in manufacturing, production, and agriculture to support the war effort. This period of prosperity spurred development again, and we could see this as the first boom and bust in Alberta's planning history. But this boom would be considered tiny compared to what's coming next. You see, the discovery of oil on Mike Tutra's farmstead near Leduc in 1947 marked a pivotal moment in Alberta's history. Drilling tests by Imperial Oil led to the official discovery of oil on February 3, 1947, with the commencement of production at Leduc No. 1 on February 13th, heralding the birth of Alberta's oil industry. The oil boom fueled a rapid expansion of Alberta's population, surpassing the national growth rate. By 1971, the population soared to 1.63 million people, reflecting the economic and demographic impact of the oil industry. The growth pressures faced by Edmonton and Calgary prompted proactive measures. In 1949 and 1951, Edmonton and Calgary respectively hired professional planners to address urban development challenges. The Town and Rural Planning Act of 1950 further empowered municipalities, granting increased authority and establishing district planning commissions to manage growth and development effectively. The 1960s and 1970s witnessed sustained growth in Alberta's economy, mirroring the rapid increase in population. As development surged, incremental changes were made to land use planning processes and governing bodies, leading to the culmination of the 1977 Planning Act. And the 1977 Planning Act reflected contemporary regional planning goals, emphasizing thoughtful development with input from municipalities and the public, aiming to minimize delays and administrative burdens. Notably, this act established a hierarchy of planning documents, placing regional plannings at the apex of the planning framework. Under the 1977 Act, municipalities were mandated to appoint representatives to planning commissions tasked with overseeing the development of regional plans. The provincial government retained authority to approve these plans and played a key role in resolving disputes between municipalities, some of which persisted for decades. And I'm looking at you, Calgary. However, this growth in the economy would once again take a turn with the 1970s and 1980s oil crisis. As global oil crisis in the 1960s and 70s drove the prices of oil skyward, Alberta's economy benefited. But after unprecedented growth came, of course, a bust. Alberta was the Canadian epicenter for the worldwide recession. In just 2 years, unemployment in the province more than doubled, rising from 9% to 10%. And there wasn't relief until the late 1980s when oil prices took a turn. The economic challenges of the 1980s rippled throughout the province, including to planning departments. Municipal contributions to planning commissions were cut, and in some cases completely. The provincial contribution to the planning fund was reduced to just half in 1994, when in the 1970s it was over 80%. This era represented two challenges to regional planning: development, which promotes economic recovery, and the extensive planning, which requires funding. That is, taxes. As Alberta's economy switched from boom to bust in the late 1980s and 1990s, enthusiasm for regional planning did not follow suit just as quickly. Amidst these conflicts and challenges, the landscape of regional planning in Alberta underwent a significant transformation. In 1995, the Municipal Government Act replaced the Planning Act of 1977, ushering a new era where mandatory regional planning was no longer in force. With the cessation of funding for planning commissions and the introduction of individual municipal responsibilities, Alberta's planning commissions, which had once represented a cooperative approach to regional planning, were disbanded. The strained relations between municipalities, exemplified by conflicts like the one between the city of Calgary and Rocky View County, and this only contributed to the government's decision to reduce funding for regional planning. Transitioning from the disbandment of planning commissions, the new millennium brought another period of prosperity for Alberta. The pressures from rapid development, population growth, and the need for conservation prompted the provincial government to rethink its approach to managing land and resources. In response, the government at the time launched a comprehensive initiative in 2006 to gather input from stakeholder groups and the public. The goal was to identify potential outcomes and challenges for a proposed land use framework. This cross-ministry effort culminated in the release of a draft land use framework in May of 2008. Ted Morin, the Sustainable Resource Development Minister at the time, emphasized the importance of this framework in balancing environmental, social, and economic needs while providing certainty for decision makers. Following additional public consultations, the final land use framework was unveiled later of that year. And this set the stage for regional planning initiatives such as the Lower Athabasca Regional Advisory Council and the South Saskatchewan Regional Advisory Council. The enactment of the Alberta Land Stewardship Act in October 2009 further solidified the legal foundation for regional planning and coordination decision-making processes. Since 2008, Alberta's planning has kept with most of North America. It's important to note, though, that home prices have skyrocketed like most homes in Canada. And from what I've seen on governmental websites, even municipal websites, it seems most of zoning regulations come from this 2001-2008 review, which might also explain why, since pretty much the crisis of 2008, everything has been on a rise. And now this isn't just because of land use policy, but many other internal and external factors which can't all be explained. But if you've enjoyed this video and learned anything new, it would mean the world to me if you could let me know by subscribing and liking this video. Let me know what else you'd like to see in the comments down below, and I'll see you on the next one.